Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to reset a drag and drop interaction without resetting the visited state and jumping back to the same slide. That's a simple, easy solution, and it can be effective if you don't need the slide to remember the learner's already interacted with it. But what I usually do on my interactive slides is create some triggers and variables so the next button will disable the first time the learners visited the slide. But on a back action, if they've already visited it once, it won't. So to pull that off, I create a variable. I set the trigger to change the state of the next button to disabled when the timeline starts on the slide, but only if the variable is equal to 0, which means they haven't interacted with the slide yet. And then I have, usually I have like a tab interaction or something, so I'll have a trigger set to add a value of 1 to my counter variable when, and it usually says like when the learner clicks, you know, a tab or a button or something, and you know, it'll add 1 each time they do that. So then when this is more than 1, the slide knows that they've already seen it. But since this is a simple fact-checking kind of engagement activity, it's not imperative that, you know, they get all the facts right, because they might not know all the facts. It's more of a pre-testing kind of thing. So I'm just going to have that add 1 when the timeline starts on the slide. So that way, if the timeline starts again on a back action, this number will be greater than 1 and the next button will enable. So you can see I have my next button is enable here. I have when revisiting set to resume safe state, so the counter variable will be remembered. So that makes programming the drag and drop reset button, I have to do it in a different way. So how I'm going to do that is with motion path. And I have 5 cards, but I have 3 of them hidden that I've already worked with. So you can see if I bring up one, it's got a motion path on it here. And I used the line path, but I put it right in on top of, you know, just made it 1 point. That way it'll snap back to that point. So let me go ahead and hide that. And let's preview this. Now another reason I don't want to reset the state is because of the audio. I have some audio that's going to play to give the learner directions. And I don't want it to keep repeating every time they hit the button. So she's going to read the directions, but if I hit this reset button and it jumps back and the slide resets, you'll hear the audio start over again every time you hear the button. So I didn't want that either. So this is set up so the states change and give you immediate feedback. So I mean, the learner can always drag this over. And then I hit this reset button, it's not doing anything. But if I unhighlight these ones with the motion paths triggers already set and look at it, you'll see that the 3 cards will reset to the normal state and jump back to their starting position.
You might be surprised by the statistics.
Turn that off. So now if I drag all the cards, oops, my preview gets a little bit of a delay sometimes, sorry about that. So I hit reset and see how 3 of the cards went back to the normal state and jumped back. That's because their triggers are properly set, so we have to do these 2. And how we're going to do that is we're going to hide the ones we already did. And now we're going to create some motion paths. So this is card number 2. And it's saved as a group. So it's made up of a line and a shape. And the shape has text on that shape. So the important thing to remember is when we're setting this motion path that we're setting it to the group and not the card, because I did that and I couldn't understand why it wasn't working, and it's because I need to set it on the whole group so the whole group moves. So I have to click back on and make sure I'm on the whole group. So then I'm going to add a motion path that's a line, and then I'm just going to drag the ending point right on top of the start point so it'll jump right back to that point. And then I'm going to name this fact 02 path 1. So all my motion paths have the same setup. When you create a motion path, it gives you a default trigger. So now I need to find where that is. It should be highlighted somewhere. Should be the one for 2 right here. So card 2, instead of making it say when the timeline starts, I want that to be when the user clicks the reset button. So then I'm going to click OK. And then I also want it to change the state. So I'm going to copy this trigger from 3 and change this to fact 2. See, it helps if you name all my rectangles, I rename them to fact whatever, so I could easily find it when I'm setting these triggers. So that's just a good best practice. And then that's going to change to normal when the user clicks this B for button reset. I always put B underscore in front of all my buttons, so that way when I'm setting my triggers, they all pop in alphabetical order. This just makes it easier for me. So now we're going to hide number 2, and now we just have to contend with number 1, and we're going to do the exact same thing. And I'll talk a little less so it'll go a little faster. So you can just follow along here. Rename the path, fact 1, path 1, and we find our trigger. Where's the one for 1? Right here. So move along path 1 when the user clicks the reset button, and then we'll change this trigger, copy and paste and change it, swap it out with fact 1, normal when clicks reset. Okay, so now we're going to preview this slide and the one after it so you can see how that next button is going to function, which is the whole reason I had to do it this way. And I couldn't just use the simple, easy reset to initial state option. So now if we preview the selected slides, we'll see how this all works together.
You might be surprised.
Okay, so we're going to mute our audio just for the purposes of this video. And you can see the states are changing, so that's good. Oops, I get a little bit of a lag here. Sorry about that. And then if we hit reset, they all jump back and their states turn to normal, and that's excellent. And then we can just drag them out again. And, you know, like I said, they don't need to get it perfect. It's just kind of giving them some feedback so they know, like, oh, well, I thought it was that. I'm surprised by that. You know, so it's like a little bit of engagement. And then when they click submit, whether this says correct or incorrect, it'll take them, this button will continue to the next slide because I only want them to do it once. It's just kind of, like I said, for engagement. So we go on to the next slide, and then if we hit previous, you can see our next button is highlighted, and we won't get stuck. So I can go forward and back as many times as I want, and since I have that counter variable on there, the next button enables the second time around, and we don't get stuck. So anyway, I hope this helps you to be able to reset your drag and drop interaction the way you want. Thanks for watching.